rub our finger across the screen on YouTube Live. And we are now live on YouTube Live. I want to say hello to all my YouTube friends. You're listening to Living on a Thin Line on the Comedy Schools channel on YouTube. And in just a second here, you're going to be able to see this on Facebook Live. If you're watching YouTube, you're actually seeing the whole thing happen as I use my thumb to magically bring my countenance to many of my friends. And I'm going to, it says tap to edit description. I'll do that later. Right now, we're going with a live video. So I've always done this show for years, whether it was on AM radio, FM radio, internet radio by going 3, 2, 1. But we are actually on 1, 2, 3 platforms right now for you to be able to watch and listen. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tony Vicich, and you are listening to and watching Living on a Thin Line. It is a daily show that we now do every day at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, where we commiserate with you, our friends. It is our daily distraction. We talk about other things than the things that are omnipresent right now. We certainly know they're omnipresent, and our hearts and prayers go out to everyone being affected, whether it's through illness or someone who's close to you who is ill, or economically. Our hearts and prayers go. Our hearts, thoughts, and prayers go out to each and every one of you. But this is kind of our daily distraction. We do this every day, 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 3 p.m. I think. I'm not sure. We're the same time in California right now because we don't do daylight savings time. If you're watching in California, it's 2 p.m. And then in the Central Time Zone, I don't know if it's 3 or 4. And then on the East Coast, I don't know if it's 4 or 5. I don't know. You want to know something? I don't know. But I want to begin to say to people that are tuning in, Mary Brown. Mary Brown, I know from way back in crazy high school days. Jim Lacey, who I've met through the miracle of social media. Todd Fisher, very funny man. Jim says, thanks for all the well wishes. Jim Lacey says it's 2 p.m. Central. Okay. All right. Is that what time it is there now? I believe you. I have a hard time at this point keeping track. I have to keep track of so many things. It's 3 Central. Now I have a Central debate going on. I don't know if in Central Time it's 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. The weird thing about Arizona, everyone, where I am broadcasting from, is that we are Mountain Standard Time, but we don't do daylight savings time. And because of that, for part of the year, we're ahead of the Pacific Coast. And for part of the year, we are the same time as the Pacific Coast. But now we've got the Central Time Zone debate settled. And we can say, with both Mary Brown and Jim Lacey say it's 4 p.m. Central, then darn it, it's 4 p.m. Central. So we've got that squared away. We're going to go, we've decided we're going to make the show a 30-minute show. Mama Laverne is watching and listening to me babble, LOL. Hello, Mama Laverne. A very funny lady who we derive much inspiration from. We love you and your husband, Coach. Shale Brenner is watching, comedy student who is currently on hiatus. Let me tell you something that we have to hit the ground running fast because we are in the seminar workshop business, and that's how we derive our income. And that was brought to a incredible screeching halt. And you know what? It is not as important or as heart-wrenching as what others are going through. So Jason Linford, how are you? The Linford twins, Kirk Nermy, Mary, cousin Mimi, Kevin Brown, everybody's coming on. So what we've been able to do is through the miracle of these devices that we are sharing each other with right now, we have been able to create one-on-one classes with people on FaceTime and a Zoom workshop that is a hot workshop right now. An advanced workshop. Starting today, I'm going to start rolling out when my first basic beginner will be, which I can tell you will be a week from today. We will do our first basic beginner. If you know anybody who's interested in learning how to write, rehearse, and perform, if you're looking for anybody who's looking to really access their creativity, that's what we're going to be doing in this basic class. a lot of you will be getting personal notifications about it that you can share with others or that you yourself might consider. And we'll continue on with our advanced class. I will tell you right now, I will announce it here that April 17th at what I believe will be 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, we're going to do our first Zoom comedy show. The comics who are in the advanced workshop right now are going to put on a show just for you. It's going to happen. All right. So that was a bunch of advertisement stuff. Let's talk. I'm always showing you like the little knickknacks and albums and stuff, things I have. I have a little office here that is just stuffed with fascinating to me memorabilia. And we went through initially showing you a bunch of bobbleheads we had. I'm not a bobblehead guy. It's not like, oh, I love bobbleheads. But I started collecting one or two that I would find at a yard sale or at a thrift store for fun. And I ended up with about 8 or 9 of them. We kind of worked through them. So now we're going to go into other knickknacks I have. So we got things to talk about. First thing I'm going to show you, it's a little dusty, but it's a little cool. Jim Lacey says, if anyone who is a writer who might be interested in coming on board an unfinished animated film, contact Jim Lacey. That's right. Jim has put his email up, tssent1@gmail.com. Ernie Green's watching. Our good friend Ernie. Randy Ioma is watching. Hello, everybody. So we're going to talk about, we're going to begin now into an autograph section of the program where I'm going to show you things that I have autographs of. I've shown you a couple because I showed you a couple of record albums that I have autographed. One by John Taylor of Duran Duran and one by a band called the Electric Prunes, which no one remembers except me, perhaps, and the people in the Electric Prunes. Hello, Mark Sweetman. Hello, Bob Rocky. So here's the first thing I'm going to show you today as we go into little goofy stuff Tony owns that we can talk about. See this? See that on YouTube? You guys see it on YouTube? See that? You see that? Okay. Ernie Green said he'd like to have my autograph. I'd like to have yours on a check. See that? You see that? Okay, what is that? That is Kurt Warner. That is Kurt Warner, and it is an autographed Kurt Warner picture. Now, unfortunately, like a lot of autographs, this one is beginning to fade, and you can barely see it, but this is an autographed Kurt Warner 8x10. And what's cool about it, what's interesting about it, I'm going to put it down now, is that it is him in a New York Giants uniform. Now, a lot of people know the legend and the story of Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner was a journeyman football player who could just never really get on with any team. Went and played in, one time there was a European league, played there, played in some minor little leagues, and ended up quitting or not being picked up by anybody. It was stocking shelves in, I believe, Iowa. And he met a woman there, and he wanted to date her, and she was like, I don't know, you're kind of a bum football player, and also I have a son with special needs. He goes, no, I'm a good guy, give me a shot. He gave it a shot. He got on then to the St. Louis Football Cardinals in the late 90s, early 2000s, when Dick Vermeil was coaching them, and Dick Vermeil had put together quite a team, and he had a star quarterback, and they thought that team might go to the Super Bowl with that quarterback, and I believe his name was Trent Green, and he got injured. I believe his leg broken, and anybody can correct me on this. We can talk about this. In preseason, he went down, and it was a dark moment for the St. Louis Football Cardinals. They thought their season was over. Everyone thought it was over, except Dick Vermeil, who actually called another coach. And I want to say hi to Angela Copit, Anthony Paris, Floyd Haas, Nick, I'm going to mispronounce your last name, Haru. Thank you for the compliment there. Jason Linford, Ernie Green, Bob Rocky, everybody on. Dick Vermeil said, I think I can win with this backup I have. And the backup was, hello, Robert Morgan, watching in from New York, Carlos Castorena. Because it means we don't talk about football here in St. Louis. I know, but I do here. And so we're just going to talk about it in a few minutes. So I'm just talking about Kurt Warner primarily because he's an incredible guy, Christian guy. I'm not necessarily a born-again Christian like him, but I respect his beliefs. He took the St. Louis Cardinals with this, when they were called the greatest show on turf, all the way to the Super Bowl. A little while after that, he was let go by the Cardinals and ended up with the New York Giants, where not much went on, but then came out here to Arizona and played with the Arizona Cardinals and took them to the Super Bowl, where they didn't win, but actually got them to the Super Bowl. So a journeyman quarterback whose ambition seemed to be totally spiked and over, and was working stocking shelves in a grocery store. Not that there's anything wrong with that job. That's looking like a good job right about now. Went on to win a Super Bowl and play in at least 2. So maybe 3. But anyway, so I got that autograph. I'm going to show it to you again for people just showing up. I won that at an auction. There was a local politician in town who had done a class with me, I believe, and who has a funny name, which I can't remember. Frank Schmuck, who's a great guy, and wanted to put together a roast. And this was 2003 to raise money for a charity. And we roasted several people, including Hall of Fame baseball pitcher, Cleveland Indians baseball pitcher, Bob Feller. So that's the autograph portion. If anybody wants to talk about Kurt Warner or football in general, when's it coming back? We don't know. Will it come back? Yes, it will. Okay. But it may not be for, I don't know if it'll come back this season or not. That is a long ways away. Things change by the minute. Things change by the hour. Things change by the day in this world that we're living in right now. And we're all going to work to make it change for the better. All right. Jim Lacey says, hold the photo up a little longer. Can't quite appreciate it because you're not leaving it up long enough. Jim, I'm supposing you're watching on Facebook Live, so we're going to put it up there. There. Have you seen that? Okay, cool. You got it, Jim. So that is Kurt Warner playing for the New York Giants between stints where he took the St. Louis Cardinals, St. Louis Rams. I am so sorry. St. Louis Rams to a win, a Super Bowl win, and then took the Arizona Cardinals to a Super Bowl. All right. So I hope that was enough. Everybody saw it. Cool. Kurt Warner, autograph, New York Giants. Bought it at an auction at a charity event where I put a bunch of comics together to do a roast of some notable people, none of whom I can actually remember except for Bob Feller, legendary Cleveland Indians baseball pitcher. Oh, and Luis Gonzalez. Luis Gonzalez, legendary Arizona Diamondbacks baseball player. So the weird thing about being a football fan from St. Louis who lives in Arizona and at one time lived in Los Angeles. And Robert, we're going to get to that in a second because that's looking good for a lot of people about the unemployment thing. I grew up in St. Louis with the St. Louis football Cardinals, who were not much of a team, but in the 70s were with a quarterback named Dan Fouts and a coach named Don Coryell. In the 70s, they captured the imagination in the heart of the city of St. Louis as they went to the playoffs several times, something that was unheard of for the St. Louis Cardinals for many years. Then I moved to Los Angeles, and then the Raiders moved there, and I became a Raiders fan. I didn't like the Rams because I had been a Cardinals fan, NFC. But then I was living in Los Angeles, and then somehow the Los Angeles Rams moved to St. Louis, and the St. Louis Cardinals moved to Arizona. So it's always been difficult for me to decide which of those two teams to root for. You know, and now the Rams are back in Los Angeles, but I have connections to both teams in the 3 cities. And actually, the St. Louis Cardinals at one time, way back before I was born, played in Chicago. But I've had connections, emotional connections, the way you are to sports, to both teams in 3 different cities. And no matter who I root for in the fall, I hope and I pray that we've got this squared away enough to have some version of it. Okay. I want to get to Robert Morgan just put up. This is like important and good. All right. Robert Morgan said, speaking of changes, unemployment is expanded to help self-employed people who've lost partial income. Everybody filed this week if you're losing income because of the virus. Yeah, Robert, we're kind of aware of that. You know, we're taking a look at that. And we're certainly going to go to those websites and see what is necessary to do. Everybody's got to keep home, hearth, and health together. Home, heart, hearth and health together. We got to do it, and we're going to do it. And one of the ways to do is like taking little silly breaks like this show and talking about goofy things. All right, talking about goofy things, because a lot of people like to talk about rock and roll. And I have an extensive vinyl collection. The thing to do right now is, for us in America, for us in the United States, we've been so truly blessed, even when we didn't realize it, that and we've been consumers of stuff. And a lot of times we have this stuff. There is a great comic who lives in Las Vegas now named George Wallace. It was funny that his name is George Wallace because he's an African-American comic, but his delivery always stunned me, how strong and clear and simple it is. And I saw him a couple of years ago. A group of comics and I went to Las Vegas and performed for my wonderful friend Don Barnhart at his comedy workshop. And then he was booking a room downtown called Double D, and I got to do a show there. And I got to see George Wallace again. And George Wallace had a great joke. And he goes, I don't know what it is. Keep in mind, he's African-American. I don't know what it is that you white people do on Friday night that makes you so crazy that on Saturday morning you throw all your junk out on the lawn and try to sell it. And I've always remembered that joke. And how many of us have had garage sales? How many of us had a garage sale and next week find ourselves at a garage sale? And we're going to get back to those days too, when we can have garage sales and it's a way to meet our friends, neighbors, and pals, maybe clean out some stuff in our garage and then go to garage sales and buy stuff to put in our garage. But we've got tons of stuff. And one of the things that I have is a lot of vinyl records from the late 60s all the way up into, I don't know, somewhere in the 90s, I guess. Always bought vinyl records, and then we switched over to CDs. That became the way to listen. I've also got hundreds of CDs. But we're showing you vinyl records on this show so that maybe it's an artist you haven't heard of, and you might want to delve into them. And it's easy to do, I suppose, on YouTube. You just are able to put the artist name in and watch their music and their videos. And if it's someone that you used to listen to and you forgot how much you like them, go back and revisit, okay? Sometimes the old can be new again. So the first artist we're talking about right here, and this is kind of an important album, all right? Everybody see that? Everybody on YouTube see that? Okay. See that? I'm not trying to sell this. I'm just showing it to you. I'm trying to get it close enough. That is Waylon Jennings' Honky Tonk Heroes. That is the name of this album. And I bought it at a place called Best Buy. And I got it for $4.70. $4.77 is how much I paid for that this particular album. And this was the album that really established Waylon Jennings as an outlaw country rocker. And it had stunning songs on it that live on now in the American Songbook today. There's something called the American Songbook, and there's the Great American Songbook, which is Tin Pan Alley songs. There is what I believe an alternative songbook, which are all the blues artists of the 30s and 40s and 50s. And then there's the new songbook of pop music, songs that then become a part of our hearts and souls and minds. Certainly, Waylon Jennings' Honky Tonk Heroes did the song Old Five and Dimers Like Me, Willie the Wandering Gypsy to Me, Lay Down Freedom, Omaha, and Because You Asked Me To. There's other good songs on here, but especially Honky Tonk Heroes became a huge, huge, huge hit. How did I learn about Waylon Jennings? All right, and a gentleman who I'm still in touch with on a regular basis who currently lives in Florida, all right, named Sam Moffett. Okay, and Sam actually wrote and asked if this was a call-in show so he could call in, but it's not. But it is a write-in show where you guys can on Facebook like and put stuff in here, and we'll check it out. Sandra D says, "Was that you in the Big Lebowski watching for the first time yesterday? Are you the dude?" You know, I have that exact sweater. It's not his sweater, but I have it, and people have said that to me for a while. Throughout my life, I've been mistaken for. I've been mistaken for John Mellencamp, Don Henley, Michael J. Fox, and the dude. Okay, most recently, The Dude. Let's see. Floyd Haas says, I understand you're talking about rooting for home teams when we or they moved. I did root for the Chiefs because I lived in Kansas City, Missouri, and I saw the first game played in Arrowhead Stadium, which is now okay. Good. We got all that. I am not the dude, but I appreciate the compliment. Brian Horan is watching. Hello, Brian. So a lot of good people on here watching. Reno Gooddale watching. Charles Kaminsky watching. A guy named Sam Moffat showed up at my door one day, knocked on the door, and held this album up. Mike's like, I'm doing it to you. Sometime in the early mid 70s, and he said, "Dude, this is us. This is us. This defines who we are." It was when the idea of maybe the long-haired redneck was starting to come into play, and of course, long hair. I'm getting a prank, not a prank. I'm getting a junk call. I just took that off. That was starting to come into play, and the idea was more long hair than redneck. It was for those of us that lived, in the outskirts of cities and lived in the Midwest and kind of knew we weren't, San Francisco hippies or New York hipster junkies, even though we dug a lot of their music. But there was a separate culture forming, and we'd heard stories of these big 4th of July picnics down in Texas put on by a country songwriter with his hair out named Willie Nelson. He brought that album over and said, we got to listen to this. Back in the day when you did that sort of thing. And we listened to it and I go, God damn, that's us. And not too long after that, what was called a primer album called Outlaws came out, which was, selected songs by Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, Jesse Coulter, Tom Paul Glazer, I forget who else. And it established the outlaw country music, which then really kind of dominated the music scene in the mid to late 70s in a lot of places. And of course, Willie Nelson still touring today, not touring right now because of this shit, but still touring today. And God bless Waylon, whose wife, Jesse Coulter, lives here in Arizona. So that's a cool guy to listen to. And if you want to listen to an album by him, and you can find it on YouTube, find the album Honky Tonk Heroes. This entire album was written by one guy, by the way. It was written by, produced, I know his name. They're all by, I can't find it here on the album. Who did the song I Can Help? If you got a problem, you don't know what it is. Billy Joe Shaver. Joe Shaver wrote this entire album. Billy Joe Shaver. One guy wrote the entire album, which established Waylon, who had always been like a pretty good kind of a country guy, into becoming a outlaw country rock guy. So it's a stunning album. It's called Honky Tonk Heroes. We're going to look it up on YouTube. The next album we're going to show you by request yesterday. Somebody asked for any Doors. Bam. Bam. There it is. LA Woman. So this album, of course, still played on FM classic rock albums today. Had huge hits. It had Love Her Madly. It had LA Woman. Other things, The Wasp, and Riders on a Storm. This album permeated I was a kid when this came out. Keep in mind, Jim Morrison passed away in 1970. I think this album came out after he passed away. But it permeated our hearts and minds and souls and helped define us. Music oftentimes helps define us. Somehow the mixture of the lyrics and the melodies and the musicians create a sound that sticks in our heart and soul and lifts us up and kind of explains a little about ourselves to us. So what we covered today was I have an autographed Kurt Warner picture, and it's kind of offbeat because it's him in a New York Giants uniform. And we also talked a little bit about Waylon Jennings, and we talked a little bit about the Doors. And now I'll talk about anything you guys want to talk about. Sandra D says, what do you think of the Tiger Kings music? I haven't watched the Tiger Kings yet. I just haven't watched it, okay? I think I will. I want to say I'm trying to keep my my television watching to something a little more light and fun. There's so much that we're all having to do right now that is different from what we were doing just a week, 2 weeks ago. So, and I don't know, I hear this is like, I don't know anything about this show. I know it's about people that raise tigers and one guy's going to jail and yeah, I don't know. Nick Rupert said froze. Diaz watching. Floyd Haas tagged me in a post. Jim Lacey, you had put up. You had sent me a joke, but I didn't get a chance to. I didn't get a chance to look at it because you had sent it just as we were going live. But whatever joke you sent, I will tell tomorrow. Okay. All right. So I'm going to tell you a little stupid joke, and then we'll take a couple more questions, and then we'll be out. We'll be at the at our 30 minutes. Is a half-hour show. Keep in mind a couple things. Okay. I'll be announcing when my basic Zoom workshops for writing, comedy, and creativity will be beginning. They will be beginning next Monday. I've set the date. They'll begin next Monday. Also, if you've ever thought about the advanced class you were in at one time and think about hopping back in, hop back in. A friend of ours named Joe from Texas called me last night and said I'm hopping back in. So one of the positives, and positive with a small p, of all this is because we're doing so many things online now, I'm able to reconnect with so many of you here, and also reconnect in doing what I do. April 17th, there's going to be a live Zoom show with several comedians that I work with, the Class Clowns Comedy Showcase. All right, but here's a joke that it's a clean joke. So I don't know what kind of jokes I can tell on Facebook Live and YouTube, and I've got a really wide and varied audience, but this is a clean joke. Robert Marcus didn't even think about that. Well, it's something to think about, Robert. Okay. But you mainly, I want you to stay safe and sane there in New York City. And Nick Rupert keeps saying froze. So I don't know, Nick, if that's is anybody else? No, that's not freezing. Is anybody else? Am I freezing on anyone? All right. I'm going to tell you a joke. And here's the joke. All right. And it's a silly joke, but it's one you could tell to anybody, and it usually gets a pretty good laugh. And here it is. There's an old Kentucky preacher who's also a hunter. And after preaching his sermon one Sunday, he decides to go out hunting. He gets his trusty rifle down. All right. And he heads out into the woods, and he's going to go bear hunting. And he goes tramping through the woods and hollers, searching for a bear. Finally, off into the distance on the other side of a steep holler, a ravine, he sees a bear. He raises his rifle to shoot the bear, and as he does, he steps forward to get better purchase with his feet, to get better aim, but he steps on a rock, and a rock slips out from under his foot, and he goes rolling and tumbling all the way down to the bottom of the holler. And he lands there, and his leg is broken, and his rifle is out of reach. Now, the bear has witnessed this, 600 pounds of sin. And he begins to march stealthily and warily with great, great purpose towards our hapless preacher. So the preacher looks up to the heavens. And he goes, Lord, I guess this is it, Lord. I guess I'll be meeting you real soon. And I don't regret that, Lord. But Lord, I've never asked you for anything for myself in my entire life. But Lord, if you could just see your way to make this bear a Christian right now, oh, that would please me mightily. Just as the bear gets to our preacher, just as it looks like all is lost, a miracle takes place. The bear drops to its knees, folds its paws, looks to the heavens, and begins to pray. And the bear says, Dear Father in heaven, for this food we're about to eat, we thank you. I have told that joke in front of the edgiest of audiences. I've told it in front of church groups. I've told it with just a couple people sitting around. It always gets a laugh. It's a great joke. You should memorize it yourself. Now you got a joke to share with people. I've been writing down a lot of jokes that my dad used to tell because they kind of got, one of the reasons I think I got involved in stand-up is because my dad was such a great joke teller. And whenever he told jokes, everybody listened, everybody laughed. They go, oh, Jerry, you're so funny. And it got me that I saw the kind of positive response he got from that. And then when I got involved in stand-up, it got me that as well. Although I think he was a little better joke teller than me. I'll tell you one other joke that my dad actually wrote that I used in my act. Okay, and here's the joke. He goes, hey, Tone, one day he comes out of the bathroom. I'm visiting him in St. Louis, and I'm doing a show that night. And my dad comes over and goes, hey, Tone, I got a joke for you, Tone. It's a good joke. Can we hear it? I go, yeah. He goes, all right, Tone, here's the joke, okay? The joke is the IRS called and said, you have our money. And I told them, I looked all over for it. I can't find it anywhere. So he came out of the bathroom and said, I got a joke for you. And I actually told it. My brother Jerry sometimes writes jokes and sends them to me too. If you want to post your jokes up here, we'll do that tomorrow. So a lot of you watching tomorrow, if you've got a written joke that you want to post up here, bam, do it. I'll tell it. Okay, you do it, I'll tell it. I'm glad some of you liked it. I got to go now. We got other things we got to do. We're making this a 30-minute show. For those of you coming in late, you're going to be able to watch this on Facebook, be able to watch it on YouTube, on the Comedy Schools channel, and hear it again on ComedySchoolsRadioNetwork.com. We're done for the day, but we're not done. And we're going to see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on Living on a Thin Line. Take care, you guys. Bye-bye. Oh, God. You know what? I was picking at my nose here. You can still see me on the YouTube channel. All right. That was a bonus. That was a bonus for it. All right. You're talking about edgy. All right, you guys. We'll see you later. Bye-bye. Hold on. Do I want to end? Yes, we're going to hit end. There we go.